thank you, young fella. I really appreciate you letting me be by the fire and resting my old tinkerer bones. Me and Bessie over there, we've been on many adventures from nowhere to the university. Oh man, it feels good to sit down. Wait, what? You don't know what a tinkerer is? You don't know the song Tinker Tanner? It's older than God itself. What? You don't even know about like the advice about a tinkerer? Ugh, kids these days learn new things, forget a dozen more, as they say. Well, maybe I should tell you all about me and what a tinkerer actually does, because I feel like a part of this world, sometimes people forget that majesty. So, why don't you explain what a tinkerer is? Well, if I'm gonna start anywhere, I might as well start with the best piece of advice if you ever run across a tinkerer. A tinkerer's debt is always paid, once for any simple trade, twice for any freely given aid, and thrice for any insult made. So that's pretty much the gist of it. So the moral of the story is don't piss us off, because only bad things will happen. No, but really, in all seriousness, if you're going to piss off a tinkerer, that might be the worst thing you could do when it comes to the Kingkiller Chronicles, because in the end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen. Hey everyone, I'm Zack, and you're watching Middle Fantasy, and I think I've disguised myself as a tinker. I've totally fooled this dude. Yeah. But today we're going to be talking all about tinkerers in Temerant. Yes, what can I say about them besides that they are older than sin, older than songs themselves, and in the end of the day, are they helpful or are they a menace? Well, today we're going to answer that question, because when it comes to tinkerers, for me, they're very fascinating, and when it comes to the Kingkiller Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss, tinkerers do play a vital role in the story, as well as just the general mythology of the whole world. So, what is a tinkerer? Well, a tinkerer is more of a traveling merchant, salesman, carpenter, pretty much a man of all the trades, or a jack of all trades, as you will. The reason why we know this is because they're extremely helpful. They sell things that people always need, like sharpening their knives. Maybe they might need some potions for, virility, as I would say. Needles, many other medical supplies. Basically, they are a traveling person that just has something for everyone. I've always considered them more like moving merchant stores, or really just a giant cart of sundries. And for me, I love that about them. Now, when it comes to the appearance of tinkerers, this is where I love talking about them. They're usually kind of in the old man look. They go for the real Saint Nick look. They're usually accompanied by a cart and a donkey. That's usually how they're depicted. But when it comes to them, they're extremely helpful. Some really help the characters, while other ones, I don't know, hurt them. I've always been a big fan of them. And even when it comes to the Kingkiller Chronicles, Quoth always has interesting interactions with them. If you notice within the story, there's some times where Quoth might need something, and he might get what he wants, but really, was the tinkerer offer something different in return? Go back and read those chapters. You'll be really shocked to find some interesting little tidbits of maybe things that Quoth would have needed on the journey. Now, another thing that I love about tinkerers is that they're famous for one thing and one thing really, and that is their advice and their saying, like I said earlier. And this is something that rings true throughout the entire narrative, and how tinkerers help our main character as well as hinder him in many ways. A good example of this is Quoth always rejects things from tinkerers such as boot wax or rope or strawberry wine, but look in the narrative, he needs all those things but rejects it anyways, and this kind of gives an interesting supernatural approach to them that I've always been a big fan of the theory that tinkerers are actually fae in disguise. Such as when it comes to this line by Felurian.
Most fae are sly and subtle folk, whose step is soft as chimney smoke. Some go among your kind in shaden, glamoured as a pack mule laden, or wearing gowns fit for a queen.
Now this doesn't necessarily mean that all tinkerers are fae in disguise. I feel like a lot of them are really just happy old lucky dudes, ha ha ha! But other ones might be more nefarious. A good example of this can actually be found within the short story, The Lightning Tree, where a tinkerer tries to snatch a child away. And this is where we see within that story in the town of nowhere that even tinkerers can be really sinister. I look at them more like the Ted Bundy, where, they're just this high-looking, beautiful young man, or actually, I guess if this is the medieval period or whatever period, I'm like in my mid-40s, I guess, yeah. but you see like there's that sinister nature to them. Who would be a better person to be a Fae in disguise than someone that's going to be helpful, and you let your guard down until they get ya? I love that about the Tinkerers, is they have like this nefarious nature to them. On top of that, they have one of the oldest songs in existence, Tinker Tanner. We don't necessarily know the lyrics all that well because everyone has their own interpretation of it. I think of it more as like a sea shanty or something you would sing at a bar where the drunker you get, the more words you add. I feel like when it comes down to the narrative, we'll never actually know the true song in its entirety when it comes to Tinker Tanner. I look at it the same way as when Tyrion Lannister talks about how he once brought a donkey into a brothel and you never end up getting the punchline of that joke. That's just something that's going to end up happening when it comes to them. But maybe there's more mysterious things in the works. Now, other things when it comes to Tinkerers, they are a huge vital part of the mythology. We see this a lot when it comes to Jax and the Moon. Jax tries to steal the moon, he tries to get a Tinkerer to help him. He tricks the Tinkerer, but he still gets what he wants. Now, is that the thing that he really wanted, or is there something more nefarious, especially when it comes to that sad, sullen story when it comes down to, did he get what he wants, or did the Tinkerer pay his debts thrice? Also, when it comes to the mythology of Tinkerers, the first time we were mentioned with them is actually when it comes to Taborlin the Great in the very first chapter, when he pretty much, Taborlin the Great, is given a trinket that protects him from the Chandrian thanks to a Tinkerer, where the Tinkerer got all the last food from Taborlin, and Taborlin pretty much got this trinket for nothing, next to nothing, and it protects him in the journey. Same as how Quoth on his journey trying to get the Trebon meets a Tinkerer, and he helps him in one way or shape or another, and it ends up becoming more beneficial to Quoth in the end, especially when it comes to paying back his debt to Devi. And in the end of the day, they're just a lot of fun. But that's kind of when it comes down to it. We don't know that much information. Will they play a bigger role in Doors of Stone? Probably not. Will we know if they're Faes? Probably not. But that's kind of the added mystery and the added mystique to them is, are they more supernatural or are they just helpful for the sake of being helpful? Well, everyone, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you liked it, maybe consider subscribing down below. I'd really appreciate that. Well, everyone, thank you all so much. What do you all think about Tinkerers? I'd love to hear your thoughts, your theories, your opinions about them. And like always, everyone, may your food and drink ever be tasteful, and may your books be filled with fantasy and adventure. Bye!